Hey everybody, it's Johnny D on another episode of Johnny D's Music Mania, and I'm here as always with Aaron Badgley, and we're going to talk today about this album, Paul McCartney's "The Boys of Dungeon Lane," which is certainly an interesting album to talk about. But before we do that, we're a new channel here. We've only been around a couple of months, Johnny D's Music Mania. So if you would be so kind, if you're watching this, to subscribe or certainly leave a comment. We'd love you to leave comments. That's what this is all about, discussions about music. We'd love to hear what other people have to say. You can like this, but subscribing would be really nice. We'd really appreciate that. And so that's what I'm doing here. Aaron, of course, has me beat. He's a brilliant author, writer, reviewer of music. And Aaron actually has a couple of books out, a couple of Beatle books out, which are great. George Harrison's Dark Horse Record Years and Ringo's Got to Pay Your Dues. So the Dark Horse record is all about George Harrison's record label, Dark Horse, which I think is the definitive book on it and probably the only book ever written on it. And so that is a must read. And Ringo's book, Got to Pay Your Dues, is Ringo in the 1970s, which covers everything from his personal life to his music and really detailed, sessions he did for other people, other records he played on and everything. Both brilliant books, which I believe, Aaron, you can get anywhere in the world that sells books.
That's right. Yes, you can.
Yeah. So please check those out. They're well worth the time and well worth the read. So now that we've done the housekeeping here, we are going to get right, because there's 14 tracks here. We're going to get right into, there it is. Always count on Aaron to have the vinyl. Not me. And he's got with the nice picture there that comes along with it.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say about the packaging, though, it gives it a homey touch and sort of a personal touch, having basically the lyrics and some of the liner notes in Paul's handwriting, but it also makes it really tough to read the lyrics.
I agree with you. I agree. I like the nice typed lyric sheet.
Yeah, but in an album like this and being Paul McCartney, you can distinctly hear what he's saying. So it's not like, sometimes you need to go to the lyric sheet to know what they're saying. Not on this album, certainly not on most of Paul's albums. So Paul's brand new record, The Boys of Dungeon Lane, 2026. 14 tracks on it. I think I would start by saying 12 would have helped the record. I think tightening it up a little bit would have helped the overall appeal of the record for me. And I can let you know the 12 that I think should have stayed. And on first listening, and we'll get into our overall view of it at the end, but really on first listening to me, and this album has taken time for me. We could have done this review a little earlier, but I really needed to listen to this a lot for this to kind of sink in for me. It sounded, outside of the obvious tracks that really stand out, it sounded like a lot of McCartney B-sides. Now, that's not to knock McCartney B-sides, because there's a lot of great McCartney B-sides, and that he's known for that, to put out singles with B-sides that weren't on any albums or you couldn't get anywhere else. Daytime, Nighttime Suffering is one that'll come to me as a B-side. Should have been an A-side, should have been a number one hit. You know what I mean? So I'm not disparaging the fact that they feel like B-sides. That's what it felt like at first, though my opinion has changed dramatically on that with repeated listenings, which sometimes some albums you got to feel. You got to get into a little bit. So, and we will get into this one right now. So our first track is As You Lie There. Now, people may get bored with Aaron and I talking about sequencing of an album, but we grew up with that piece of vinyl, 5 or 6 songs on one side, 5 or 6 songs on the other side. And it mattered to us, and I think it mattered to the artist, how the album was sequenced. As You Lie, there's a unique track. It's got some spoken word in it, which is interesting for McCartney. And it's an okay song. This is even the first track to me. This feels like a B-side. This feels like maybe one of those funky things he would do that would be on a B-side. And to open the album with it, especially, and we probably may agree on this as we go through it, especially since there is a song that should have been the opener of this album. So it's an okay track, but it's an interesting one. It's a unique thing for McCartney, but really not a way I would open the album. Aaron?
Yeah, I mean McCartney. It's a very odd opening for Paul McCartney, and the spoken word initially threw me, um, but I think he sets the tone because I think this album, and we'll get to this later, but and I'll explain it further later, Johnny. But I think this album is a conversation between Paul and the listener. And when I talk to you, for example, or I talk to someone, sometimes I'm talking about the here and now, and then all of a sudden I'm talking about something that happened 40 years ago, and then I'll come back to the here and now, and that's what this album is. So I think the opening line, which was, "I used to walk past your house every night. I'd look up at the window." It's very telling that, okay, folks, we're going to do some reminiscing here, and it's almost like Van Morrison does this on his albums and such, and I really like it as an opening. But I will say this: I've listened to this album probably 30 times, and each time I listen to it, I find something new, and I like it more and more. Should this be the opening track? I don't know. I think it's as I said. Do you remember the album Back to the Egg? He opens up with that song Reception, and it reminded me a little bit of that. But I love the song. I like the guitar. I ask you a question, Johnny. The guitar solo at the end, did it bring to mind Come Together?
The next listening, I will definitely listen to it.
I
didn't catch that, but I will listen.
All right. Okay. So I love the song, and you're gonna get tired of me saying that, but hey,
that's okay. And you're gonna get tired of me saying,
it's fine by me. This is why we're good friends.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I like the track. I do, but it feels like it would have been, you're flipping over your 45 and this is on the B side and you go, wow, that's a unique, cool McCartney track. That's kind of how I feel about it.
I agree. Can I say one thing very quickly?
Absolutely.
Here in Toronto, they flipped it over. Daytime Nighttime was the A side in Toronto, whereas Goodnight Tonight was the B side. So I don't know why the radio stations here did that, but they did, and it was great because I prefer the song Daytime Nighttime.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. But you know what? It's interesting because you said that before about something. I forgot what artist we were talking about. About something where wondering, something should have been a single, and you said it actually was, or it got a lot of airplay.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly what that was, but that's Canada. As I said, you give us all the good stuff. You give us hockey and cool, dry air.
And Canada Dry.
And Canada Dry. There you go. And next, the next track up is Lost Horizon. Now, the minute I hear this the first time it starts, I hear Flaming Pie.
Mm-hmm.
That I hear the song Flaming Pie the minute that it starts. But it's not Flaming Pie.
No.
And this is a good song. This actually would have been a better. You could have flip-flopped these. It would have been okay.
Mm-hmm.
Lost Horizon would have been a nice opener, and then you get the weird, funky track number 2.
Yeah.
But Lost Horizon I like, and it harkens back to me, at least that intro part, at least the intro part, harkens back to Flaming Pie, which I really like, and an album that I totally love.
Yeah. This whole album reminded me of Flaming Pie, to be honest. I thought,
really?
Well, it is not the music, but how I responded to it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember side 2 of Flaming Pie. It took me a few spins to finally go, yeah, I get it. But I love Lost Horizon. I'm an old movie buff. I know he's not referring to the film Lost Horizon or the story, but he kind of is. Like, it's almost like talking about your youth. And I like the fact that he's talking about youth and using Lost Horizon. And maybe I read into things because, I've watched far too many movies, but that's what kind of came to my mind. And I think, and we'll talk more about this later. That's my daughter. She's chatting with my wife, and I apologize profusely.
That's quite all right.
I'm not great with these things, but anyways. Anyways, that's a great track, and I agree. It could have made a great opening track. Absolutely.
But we're supposed to read into these things, so you're reading something into. That's what art is. Everybody takes their own personal experiences into it, and that's what makes art so great. We're all hearing something different or seeing something different. And that's amazing. I mean, the artist has something in mind, but that doesn't mean that that's what we're going to receive.
Right.
So that's all valid. Now we come to Days We Left Behind, and I'm just going to say this about Days We Left Behind. This is as good as McCartney gets. This is as good as McCartney's ever been, and I would put this up against Yesterday.
You are not going to get an argument from me. This is, to me, from the first time I heard the song, I think it's incredible, it's emotional, it's magic, and boy, I'd sure like to get through it just once without tearing up. But anyways,
Sure. Yeah.
I love his lyrics in this song. I think it does rival Yesterday. I think it rivals anything you can put up against it. Looking back at White and Black, I'm melting at that point.
Sure.
Melting. So again, it connects. Everything's connecting. He's not. It's not dwelling so much as reminiscing, and there's a difference, right? There is a huge difference. So.
Yeah. Because he's looking back. A lot of this album, he's looking back with fondness and appreciation. It's not sadness, but of course it is all sad when you look back and you reminisce about the good times and the things that are gone and that will never be here again. But this song, I'm glad we're in agreement on this. This is McCartney as McCartney. And for me, and maybe this is what I can say this here, this was the first track we all heard. And when I heard this, I thought, if this is what the album's going to be, this is going to be Paul McCartney's greatest album ever. I mean, that's what it felt like to me. If this is the lead single that he's putting out there, and this is the tone and what he's going to do, wow, we are in for an incredible record. We got a great record, but we didn't get the record that I was hoping for. And maybe that has tainted my feelings about this record a little bit, because I really expected the moon here. But
I think that's a fair assessment. I really do. I think that it was an interesting lead-off single, because there's a couple of songs I can make an argument for that may have been a good lead-off single as well. Yeah. But we talked about this with Ringo's last album, Long Road. This is, I think, McCartney. He's conscious of the fact that people will be listening, but on one hand, he's also like, I'm going to do what I want to do. When you just said something a minute ago, Days We Left Behind is pure Paul McCartney. I mean, pure. Yep. It doesn't get purer than that, strong melody, reflective lyrics, emotional. And I think he's comfortable with that at his age. So, but I know what you're saying, because that doesn't represent the album. When you hear that song, you think the album's going to be a one, which is an interesting thing to do, especially in this day and age. But I applaud him for doing it. Yeah,
me too. And a beautiful harmony on it too.
Yes.
I mean, it's just a perfect record. It's just a perfect recording, which is interesting. And his voice, there's a couple tracks on here where his voice, we hear it pure. We hear it pure and clean, his voice. Yeah. And everything else, it's sort of, I guess just the simplest way to say it is sort of processed. There's, double tracking and stuff like that. But his voice works throughout this entire album. There's obviously a lot of, obviously he's 83. He's not 21 years anymore. But the vocals work beautifully throughout this entire record.
I was just going to say that. I'm glad you said it. I don't think it would work if I heard someone at the age of 20 singing this. This needs to be, you can hear at times you can almost hear the weariness in his voice.
Yeah.
And I love that, because it's.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. There's a track that I think should have been the closing track where you really hear it in his voice, and it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And then we come to Ripples in a Pond. Literally, the first time I heard this when it started, I'm thinking this could have been on Pipes of Peace. that intro lick there, it's just like, this is coming right after the man, or say or something. This could have been on Pipes of Peace is what it sounded like to me. And this was a track that I really liked at first hearing. This feels like one of those, just McCartney can crank these out in his sleep, but it's good. It's really good. So I really like this one, and I like the fact that it makes me feel like it goes back to Pipes of Peace. I like that too.
Okay. I agree with you. And I hear it too, what you're saying. But I think this could have been a good single. In McCartney's heyday, at his commercial peak, this would have been a #1 single, Ripples in a Pond, with the backing vocals. Everything just lines up in this song. And I really, really love it. And it comes at an interesting point in the album, because you're thinking to yourself, we just had Days We Left Behind, which is so big, and then this one's big, and you're going, where is he going with this, right?
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
agree.
definitely. Those first four tracks were like kind of dancing around all over the place a little bit. Like, yeah, where are we headed here? Well, where we're headed next is to the mountaintop. So the next track is Mountaintop, and yeah, this is the B-side feel to me. This is that B-side feel. Like it's an album cut or a B-side or something like that. It feels somewhat uninspired to me, this particular track. But I wouldn't take it off the record. There's a couple that I would, but I wouldn't take this off the record.
You know, this is like a straight ahead love song in a sense, isn't it? I mean, I'm looking down because I'm looking at the lyrics.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a straight ahead love song, straight ahead kind of McCartney. It's I wouldn't say filler, but it's not like you kind of go for me, the first three tracks you're kind of going, whoa, what's hitting me? And this is kind of like, okay, this is what I expect from Paul McCartney. And again, that's not a criticism. It's not me going, what is going on here? But it's great. And I think I like what you said. Well, where are we going? We're going to the mountaintop. Maybe that was intentional. I don't know.
Maybe it was. Exactly.
You know? But I think it's a good album cut. How about
that? I'll go with that. Yeah, I'll go with it. Next song, fascinating song, Down South. Now, this is McCartney's voice. Just McCartney. I mean, you know, there might be double track the acoustic or something, but it really sounds like just a guy sitting with his acoustic guitar and singing. And it's reminiscing about a hitchhiking experience he had with George Harrison back when they were kids. And the sentiment is beautiful. To me, it's not the greatest song in the world, but what I love about it is the fact that he wrote a song about he and George hitchhiking when they were kids and really getting to know each other. So the sentiment's beautiful, and the approach is beautiful to make it as simple as that. Like back when they were kids, you know, riding on buses, playing their acoustic guitars. So I totally love all of that about this song.
Well, I also like the fact he references "Twist and Shout," which is one of the few Beatle hits in North America that they didn't write, and I don't think there's a reason behind that, because he's, as you say, we're talking about the youth. We weren't writing songs; we were doing other songs, and this is before we twist and shout. And I love that. This brings to mind a song called "Friends to Go," which is an older song. I think it's off of Chaos and Creation. And it has that same vibe for me. If I got the album wrong, folks, I apologize profusely.
I think you're right.
I think it's Chaos. Anyways, it reminds me of that song in the sense of just the strumming and the acoustic. I love his voice in this song. I also love, you know, again, Johnny, I read into things, and I think he's kind of almost doing the "oh yeah" from Glass Onion. There's a few Beatle moments on this album, and I love it because it's just brief, and maybe it's just me going, "Oh my gosh, it reminds me of Glass Onion" for a second, you know. But I love the track. I don't think it would have been a single. I think it's one of those songs that he had to get out of his system. I think at his age, and John and George are gone now, and he can do this with Ringo, but he can't with those two. And him and George were friends. You know, I was reading something the other day, and it said, you know, George and Paul were friends before George joined the Quarrymen, and before Paul joined the Quarrymen. They were friends before. So you think to yourself, these guys had history. So you know, it's very cool.
It got a little rough as the years went on, but yeah, they did.
Well, George said some very, very mean things about Paul in the 70s. I mean, I'm not saying that Paul was the saint, but George really hammered it into him at times. But I think Paul forgave him. I think George, it was all a response to things, not, you know, anything, you know. So
yeah, of course. Okay, so then we move on to "We Too," a track that I really didn't like the first time I heard it, and now I love. So this was a whole evolution for me with "We Too." Just like, huh? What? But now I love this track. I totally love this song.
What changed for you? Like, what do you think changed?
I don't know. You know, it didn't really land for me. There wasn't a harmony. I mean, there wasn't a melody in it that really landed for me well. And then with repeated listenings, I'm like, oh yeah, well there it is. And I don't know why. I don't know why. But then you're like, oh, there's the hook in it. That's what we like. Yeah. And I love the sentiment of it too. you know, which maybe on initial hearing, I wasn't really listening to the lyrics. It wasn't connecting with me. But like you said, we probably both listened to this album 30 times, you know, probably around number 15, I'm like, oh, I like this song. And then by 30, I love this song.
Like I agree with you. It wasn't the first time I heard it, I kind of went, but then I was listening to it and I was doing something for a second and I was distracted and I heard the melody in the line, "Last night I dreamed of you."
That's it right there.
Right
there. That's it.
I just thought that's just, and it actually tugged at my heartstrings. It was just really, wow, Paul, thank you. There it is. And then I kind of went back, went, okay, now I'm getting it.
You're right. I did the same thing. It's like, that's the hook. And then now you just trail back and listen to the rest of it. Okay, exactly. All right, it leads in perfectly. That's great.
Exactly. Yeah. And that brings, well, I guess on the CD, I have the CD too. I'm not anti-CD, by the way. I love CD.
I know you're not. Nobody ever said you were.
I know you didn't. And I love the sound of the CD. I think the sound's brilliant. I like it on headphones, maybe a bit more than out loud, but so that ends side one, which I think is a great way to end side one, because then you go with side two. You got, what do you get at your next song?
Next song is "Come Inside."
Yeah,
you know, which has a pretty good guitar lick there, good guitar riff. It's again, this isn't it's not a McCartney song that I love, but I think it has its place on the record. I wouldn't take it off the record. But that's why I struggled with this record, because I wasn't feeling the love for a lot of these songs. And then like We Too, the love came around for that, and other things have improved for me. Come Inside is just one of those songs that sort of just lays there for me.
It reminds me of the new era of McCartney.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like maybe this was left off of New, or maybe he'd started writing it around the time of New, and he kind of finished it up here. You know, it's an interesting song to open up side two. And I think I look at symbolism and think, okay, well, Come Inside. Okay, well, we finished side one. Now come inside to side two. And it's almost, to me, in reflection, I think it's almost like an introduction. You know, it's like, it reminds me kind of the beginning of Magical Mystery Tour. Come on in. We got a great album here for you. Just, I'll get introduced to it. Because the next song, Never Know, is fantastic. It's just, I think, anyways. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's an interesting song. It's not as strong as on the album, but you know what? Come back to it. You might feel differently.
Sure. Well, yeah, I'll listen to it another 30 times probably in the next 2 weeks, so it's okay. And then, as you just mentioned, the next track is Never Know, which is this is one of those songs that's been solid for me from the beginning.
Yes.
There's no great, tremendous love for this song for me, but it's just solid. It's like, that's a good McCartney song. I can listen to that one.
Yeah.
And that's what this one feels to me. Nothing, nothing over the top for this for me. But just a good McCartney song. Makes you feel like you're listening to Paul McCartney, which feels warm and comforting, and that's nice. And that's what this song does for me.
Yeah. You know, there's something about, maybe it's my childhood, but Summertime was always McCartney. Ram was a summer album. Venus and Mars was a summer album. Tug of War was a summer album. And his albums, Back to the Egg, and he tends to release spring, early summer. And and I agree with you. It's just one of those things where you're lying on the couch going, the world's okay because Paul just released a new album. That's what that song does for me.
And you know what's great? You make a great point, because I was just thinking about this the other day. Ram has kind of become my favorite McCartney album.
Yeah.
But I can't disassociate the time of my life and the memory of it with you. But I don't think anybody can. I think whether you consciously or unconsciously are aware of it, because you're right. You know, McCartney, Ram was like, I'm getting out of school because it was the end of the school year. And I'm thinking third grade. It's either second or third grade when that came out for me. And I remember going to the record store. It was a music store. It sold instruments, but they also had, records. And that's where I got it. And that was sort of the soundtrack to my summer. The other interesting one that you mentioned was McCartney 2, because McCartney 2 literally came out, I think, 2 weeks before I graduated from high school.
Yes.
So McCartney 2 is my high school graduation. It is my freedom. It is my ticket out. And it is that summer of 1980 for me is McCartney 2. So, yeah, but there's a lot of summer McCartney. Oh, and of course, Wings Over America, Maybe I'm Amazed was a single off of that. I remember being at the beach multiple times with my family that summer, and it's on the rate. You can't hide from that song all summer long.
Jet. Yeah, I think McCartney 2 is a good example where both McCartney 2 and Ram were horribly reviewed.
Yeah.
Now they're critically revered. I mean,
Yeah.
McCartney 2 is a strong album, and I remember the summer of 1980 very, very well. I had just turned 16, got my driver's license, and nothing better than driving around with the windows rolled down and coming up. It was
so you got your license, so you're feeling the freedom when that record comes out. I just graduated high school, so I'm feeling the freedom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So so McCartney 2. The album may suck. I don't even know, but I love it to death. I love it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I know.
But I love it because it represents that unbelievable time in my life. And you can't separate your life from the music because it's all one thing. It really is.
I agree. It becomes, and you said it a couple of weeks ago, we were talking, this is more than just an album or a song. This is something else. And McCartney 2 and Ram and Tug of War, that album really meant a lot to me it still does. But, I can say the same thing about George Harrison's Blow Away. That was the summer of 79.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
That was a great summer. Man, the summer and the Beatles soloing together. Anyways,
but the George Harrison album from 79 sounds like summer.
100%.
Love comes to everyone. Here Comes the Moon. It's just these songs that just with this 12-string. The 12-string guitar just humming and singing. The record feels like summer.
I couldn't agree, and I think this album does too, in a really weird way, because it's taking me into the summer of 2026, and I'm telling you right now, 5 years from now, I'm going to go, man, that's 2026.
That's okay. Yeah, I know. So we move on to the next track, which is Home to Us, which he does with Ringo. And if it's me and I have any say in any of this, this is the song that starts the album. This is just the opener. This is a no-brainer. It's up-tempo. It's exciting. He's with Ringo. And he's just, again, you've got the reflecting going on, but you've got like could be a possible hit single. And he's just, we grew up in a bombed out area, you know what I mean? But it was home to us. This was our home. This is all we knew. It's a beautiful song. It's a great song. It would be my third favorite on the record because my second favorite is still to come. So we'll leave that hanging there. But this is my third favorite on the record. This is a great song. It should have kicked the record off.
I hear you and I agree with you. I love the song. I remember talking to someone and they said, "Oh, he's written a song Home to Us. It's going to be maudlin." This song is defiant. Now, for those of you who I grew up in a very working class industrial town, and it wasn't pretty, but it was my hometown. Yeah. And I love this because it's Paul and Ringo going, you can say it was rough. You can say whatever you want, but this is home to us. And I find it more defiant than it is melancholy. And I find it like, this is what made us the Beatles.
Yeah.
This, the boys from Dungeon Lane, they were hurt. I love this song. I think it may not be my favorite on the album, but it's the one I go to the most, oddly enough. So maybe it is. I love the song. And Ringo and Paul, man, do they sound good together. Like,
they do.
It just makes you feel so good to hear these two singing together. It brings tears to my eyes because
what it is, Aaron. So they're singing about the Liverpool they grew up in, the bombed out Liverpool, the dark, gray, depressing Liverpool with, food is hard to get, and everything's a mess, but it was home to them. But you know what? You just sort of made a point, which made me realize this is Paul and Ringo singing together in 2026. And isn't that home to us?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And it brings it, pardon the pun, brings it home to us because it's like, this is what we've been waiting for, haven't we? I mean, okay, now and then is the same thing, but different because George and John aren't really there, but Ringo's there.
Yeah.
And, you know, you kind of, I remember as a kid, Johnny, I always had that Help fantasy where the Beatles all lived together in this little,
Oh, I know, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like the Monkees. The
Yeah,
Beatles
exactly.
are all the best of friends. They live together.
Yeah.
And you hear this song, I think,
Yeah.
they're still best friends. And that's what
Sure.
makes,
And it brings us home because they've been with us our entire lives.
oh, yeah.
I mean, our entire life. My earliest memory is listening to a Beatle album.
Mine
So
too.
it's our entire lives, and here they are in 2026. And so together, it is home to us as well.
Well, I'm 61, and when I hear this album and this song, I feel like I'm 10 again or 9, or
Yeah.
I feel like that little guy who's running around, you know, I just got Revolver. Wow, this is blowing my mind, you know, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And then we come to Life Can Be Hard, which may surprise you and may surprise a lot of people. This is my second favorite song on the record.
I am surprised. Yeah, it's a great song, though.
I mean, I love this song. And I actually can, you know, talk about melody. I mean, this is McCartney at his best. And I can hear, you know, I wasn't a fan of musicals. I'm a big movie fan, as you are, as you know I am. I actually have a TV show that I host movies on. So I'm a big movie fan too. But I hated musicals as a kid. You just, oh my God, unless it was Elvis, of course. Unless it was Elvis, I hated musicals.
Yeah.
But then somewhere as an adult, I got Turner Movie Classics, right? And there's Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. And now, all of a sudden, I'm digging musicals because I'm really digging Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers because I'm realizing these people are so insanely talented.
Yeah.
There's not even words for these two, right? As had to be back then, as we all know. You needed talent. You needed a lot of talent back then. Not so much today. And I can see Fred Astaire introducing this song in one of those movies.
Yeah. You took the words out of my mouth. I was going Bing Crosby.
Okay, Bing. Okay.
Because the same thing with, for you it was Fred, for me it was Bing. And I love this track, and I love the sentiment, and I love the fact it's McCartney. It's just a lovely love song at times.
Yeah.
It's just, again, I can't put into words what this song does for me, because it's just, and it comes, again, I'm aware of sequencing. And if you look at where it comes on the album, it comes just before he talks about his mother. So you got this incredible love song, first Star of the Night's Next, and then one of my favorite tracks on the album. So it's just beautiful sequencing. McCartney is a genius at sequencing.
Except for the lead track on this album.
Fair enough.
So yeah, Life Can Be Hard. Just, oh man, and that's one of those songs. That's one of those songs on very first listening. I'm sold. First time I hear it, I'm sold.
Do you think it would have been a good single?
Yeah. Because McCartney, though he tries real hard, he's not appealing to some 18-year-old or 17-year-old or 16-year-old. So he's appealing, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90-year-olds. I mean, that's who he's appealing to. So I think this song would have worked, as a single.
Me too. I agree.
Now we come to the next track, which is First Star of the Night, which, in my opinion, and this is, I think, where we finally, maybe in all of the reviews we've been doing, I think where we part company a bit, because I would close the album right here. This is a beautiful way to end this album. An absolutely beautiful, positive, inspiring way to end this record. It's a great song. I love it, and I would have ended the record with it.
Does it remind you of My Valentine a little bit?
It doesn't. No,
it does me. Lyrically, not musically.
Okay.
Lyrically, it's like My Valentine, where, what if it rains? She didn't care. And this one is, even when it's raining outside, something tells me it's all right.
Yeah.
And it's raining inside, not outside. So
right.
I think I understand. I get what you're saying, and I'm wondering, my question to you would be, what if they put this song after the next two? Because maybe it's almost like you feel that the next two songs are a bit anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Right. So what if they sequence?
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. I would have tightened the album up and probably not have these next two on there. But I guess you're right. If you just flop them around and put this one last, I think I would have felt like maybe I had closure on this record, leaving in a very positive, really beautiful, positive light as we depart. Yeah, I think I would have accepted that. Good point, Aaron. I would have accepted that. Yeah.
And I think, I love First Star of the Night. And I also, by the way, the iTunes deluxe version has a very cool demo of the song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's worth just hearing that. It's really quite beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
All right. Now, see, the next song, and I love this song for so many reasons. I know it's not your favorite.
Well, so the next song is Salesman Saint, which is about his parents and about the struggles they must have gone through, which he seems to, be wanting to talk about. And that's the thing about Paul. Everybody loves Paul. We love Paul. But Paul will come out and he's got his talking points. And that's it. And pretty much that's what he's going to stick to. I don't care what question you ask him. You can ask him what he had for breakfast. He's going to steer it around to one of his talking points for this particular album. I have on videotape, which I've since transferred to DVD, I think 1,000 interviews with him when Broad Street came out, because he was everywhere trying to sell this thing. He was on Johnny Carson. He was just everywhere trying to sell this thing. And they all just sort of, as he does every time, they all sort of flop around again to that. But I don't even know why I started on that. But yeah, so he's talking. So I guess he's realizing in a lot of these interviews what the struggle his parents must have gone through when he was born. He's born in the middle of, they're getting bombed. I mean, this has got to be a very difficult time. And I guess maybe we've never really thought about it. We've thought about as fans and people that like Paul McCartney and the Beatles, thinking about their experiences as kids, being born in this and growing up in this. But I don't think any of us ever stopped to think about what their parents were going through as they were raising these kids, or these kids were being born. I mean, imagine having a baby, while you could literally be hearing bombs going off, 3 streets over. So that's the sentiment of this is beautiful and it's wonderful. And the basic, simple production instrumentation of it is absolutely beautiful. It's not my favorite McCartney song ever. It's not, but I love the fact that he did it.
And I love everything you said. I love, and I think lyrically, it's one of my favorite he's written, because it's like, they couldn't take any more, but they had to.
They had to
carry on. Yeah. And it's that McCartney adding those 2 words, carry on. And I love, and it shouldn't, maybe it doesn't work for you, but it works for me. I love the big band that comes in, and the big band is not even playing the melody of the song.
No,
the big band's doing something totally different. And I'm going, this is cool. Like all of a sudden you got this song, and then the big band, the Kinks, when they did Come Dancing, and the big band used to come and play that, and they playing the melody of Come Dancing.
Yeah.
Not Paul. Paul brings the big band in a very almost arbitrary way.
Sure.
But he brings it in when they're talking about, all they had was the radio and coffee and cigarettes. And I guess, and we talked about this, my mom getting up at 4 a.m. to pack my dad's lunch. And I made it very personal, I guess. And I love the song. And I mean, we didn't grow up in a time during war where we were being affected, and the next door house got blown up. But it's an incredible tribute to his parents, I think.
It is. And the big band music coming in, obviously that's what he's hearing on the radio at the time.
Yeah.
That's what parents are listening to and experiencing. And his father was in a band. So this is probably the music his father was playing, that he heard his father playing on the piano. And so it's almost like a little, I know obviously the song's very personal to him. That's what it is. But by putting in that snippet of music there, that's like his little honoring his father, his parents, and the era that they grew up in.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Yeah.
And then we come to Mama Gets By, which is the final song. And so and this one, this one, of all the tracks on this album, this would be my least favorite. Let me put it that way. This would be my least favorite, and just a strange way to end a record when he has other options to end this record, I think, in a more universally beautiful way.
I'll tell you a funny story. we were listening to this album for the first time, we being my wife and I, not the royal we. And Andrea loved it, but this song at the end made her cry. And it was weird because nothing else made her cry. But this song hit her in a way, and I think that, who's the song about? I don't think it's about his parents. It could be. Is it about him and Linda? Is it about him and Nancy? It's an odd song. And it's one of those songs that I kind of want to keep delving into to figure it out, because I don't think it was. We know for a fact there's 12 other songs that didn't make the album, right?
Yep.
So you're thinking, you just said it best. There's a million ways he could have ended this album, but he chose to end with this song. And I would love for someone to ask him why. I really would. I think that would be a great. He might not say anything, but I think it's because there's a reason there somewhere. It wasn't just I would just end it with Mama Gets By. There's a reason to it.
Sure, of course. McCartney, everything he's done, he ties his shoes with a reason. McCartney, there's nothing is not dotted or crossed with McCartney. So there's nothing made anywhere or just randomly done. That's not how he works.
No.
And of course, so that's what we do, right? Mama Gets By. So when you first hear it at the beginning, you're figuring he's talking about his mother.
Yeah.
It goes on, you're wondering, well, is it really his mother? Because I don't know. And talking about his father and coming home and just going to bed, and you're just wondering, maybe that was his life experience. Maybe that was his experience as a child.
Yeah.
For all we know, and this was his, this was honoring his mother with this last track. Maybe. Okay, go back in time and you go back to the McGear album, which he pretty well wrote and produced and played on the entire album. And who's on the front cover? His mom. Exactly.
She's made it. Mother Mary Comes to Me. Yeah. So she's even after all these. The oratorio is about his mother.
Yeah.
So
beautiful, by the way. Probably you and me, probably not into that type of music usually. No. The oratorio is
stunning. Stunning.
It really is. It really
stunning.
Yeah.
But I love this album. I really do. This is the blue vinyl, but I love this album a lot, and I think it's a masterpiece. I said that in my review for Spill Magazine, where I said it's just a masterpiece. I think years from now, people are going to look back on this album and it's gotten good reviews, which is very unusual for Paul. Yeah. Very unusual.
It would be hard for me to call this, out of the gate, a masterpiece. I mean, it really would for me. I think there's some, not missteps. McCartney doesn't really make missteps, but there's things that just don't connect with me so much on this record. There's a few tracks that don't, but that isn't to say in 6 months I'm going to be saying, yeah, you're right. You were right. You were right all along. The damn thing's a masterpiece. You're right. Because it started with, what am I listening to after the first time? It's like, I can't get a handle on what any of this is. And 30 times in, I'm like, wow, okay. I get it.
Me too.
Songs I didn't like, now I love. So they'll probably all grow on me over time.
And I read somewhere, some guy, one of the Beatle fans online, kind of said he hated the cover, and I love the cover. I think it's a great cover. I really, the fact that Paul McCartney's name doesn't appear anywhere on this cover.
Yeah.
That's Rubber. Well, no, Rubber Soul had the Beatles on the back, but that's pretty damn cool that he's confident enough to put out an album. Oh yeah, Paul McCartney's
but nobody's looking for that.
Right.
But you know what? But the thing is, it's one thing for the Beatles to put out the White Album, right?
Yeah.
It's embossed there. But if you're just looking for it, if you're in a record store, just what am I going to pick up today? You're a kid, looking around in 1968. It's an all white album. Well, you're not going to know it's the Beatles. You're not going to probably pay any attention to it. So that's bold. But that's the Beatles, right? You go, because that's what they're going to do, right? They're going to go from the most elaborate album cover in the history of the world to the most sparse album cover in the history of the world with the next album. That's who they are, right? But this one, there's nobody. I think it also may give Paul and a lot of artists freedom to do whatever they want with a cover now, because the cover's not selling a record anymore.
No,
that's the bottom line. No. Used to be that artists didn't understand that an album cover could sell the record. You can look at those album covers from like the 50s and into the early 60s, right? They're just, hey, we got a photo of the Stones we can stick on here, and that's what they would do, right? And then they realized at some point, wow, maybe people just thumbing through record stores a cover might grab them. We've heard the stories many times how people experience their first band or first artist because they just looked at the album cover caught their attention, right?
Absolutely.
And today, album covers are not selling records at all for any reason at any time. So it must give them the freedom to put whatever they want on the cover. That's what
I agree. I mean, although the Peter Frampton, we talked about Peter Frampton. I love that cover too. I love that cover.
That's a beautiful album cover too.
Beautiful album cover.
Yeah, yeah.
And the new Yes album has a great cover too. But
but Frampton probably wouldn't have followed up. Frampton Comes Alive with that album cover.
Oh no.
Unfortunately, he chose the cover of I'm in You. Unfortunately, which was not a wise move on his part. But hey, and there's a documentary on Frampton coming out.
There is?
Oh, you haven't heard about this?
No.
Find the trailer on YouTube. Your job will. Yeah. So once that hits theaters, you and I are talking about that big time.
Oh, I'm going.
I'll probably see it 3 times the same day. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
I might too. You never know. That's exciting news. I haven't heard anything about it, but I'll
his keyboard player Rob Arthur just made the film. He made the film. He just
cool.
He'd done some videos for him when he'd done Isn't It a Pity on his instrumental album. Rob had done a video for that, and then Frampton just gave him all this footage, and I guess he took a lot of 8mm stuff when he was younger. When he was just younger in his career, and I guess this is populated with that. So check the trailer. It's just called Frampton. It's the film. You'll see the trailer. You can't wait to see the movie. Trust me. Trust me.
He comes out.
Great. All right, so there we are today, everybody. I'm Johnny D. This is Aaron Badgley. We just talked about The Boys of Dungeon Lane. Look for Aaron's books anywhere you buy books. He's got Ringo. He's got George. You can track those down. Subscribe if you've sat through all of this and you've enjoyed it in any way at all. Please subscribe to the channel. We need some help here. We're new. We're the new kids on the block, so we really appreciate that. And so we'll be back. So we'll see you next time here on Johnny D's Music Mania.